Means, I can't tell you, Ramesh, you have to be there to understand the bearish sentiment. And everybody from the Panwala to Mr. Nimesh Shah and to Mr. Aravind Chandamani and Mr. Kamal Kabra, all of them extremely bearish.
All the market players were bearish.
All the market players, one to A to Z. And I thought, and I had made some money, I had my net worth had become 1.5, 2 crores, so I had the ability to take a risk. So then I thought and I took a bet. And again, I must tell you that on the morning of the budget used to come in the afternoon, in the evening. At that time, I developed cold feet. And then I thought, boss, that I've taken this position and if things go against me and everybody might talk to us bearish. So what I had a lot of long positions and in certain scripts I went short. Hedged. And because I thought if the budget doesn't work out as I have envisaged it will damage me financially. And then as soon as the budget came, I mean the way the stocks went up.
It was clear to you the market was headed higher.
And I just doubled my positions as soon as the budget came, which was out.
Not many people know this, Rakesh, but I know you go to the printing presses to get a first copy of the budget. Isn't it true?
Yeah, we try and get it
after it's published.
And Ramesh, it's very, very profitable because this time, when the relief was granted to IDBI, we read it in the fine print. And I could manage to buy a really large number of shares between 45 and 48.
It's an old habit of yours.
Yeah, we must read the fine print.
Rakesh, let's go back to 1992, which is a defining bull market. Luck and opportunity both struck at the same time for you. Tell us how you sized up that market.
Well, we always knew that, first of all, we knew the valuations were incredulous.
No, but first you made money in the run-up, didn't you?
Yeah,
you were bullish on cement.
That was right on 89. Then, after Madhu Dhanwate's budget came, we made some money in trading. Then I took delivery of a lot of shares. I remember I took delivery of 14,000 shares of ACC. And I had no office. And I and one of my brother's clerks used to sit in the night and fill the shares. And even at those times, the shares were worth about 75 lakhs of rupees. I had no office. Night we used to fill the shares. Then the rest is history. ACC, I sold at 3,500. ACC went to 10,000.
But I remember that, Rakesh. But a lot of people, once they make money on the long side of the business, fall in love with the stocks. What made you decide that stocks are overpriced and they don't go to the sky actually?
Well, Ramesh, I mean, see, if you say I'm a contrarian or optimist or pessimist, I will describe myself as a realist. So what is reality? 50 times earnings, 45 times earnings, 100 times earnings.
Does speculation teach you that? Huh? Does speculation teach you to be realistic? Because you're betting on leverage money?
I think so because, see, trading or speculation requires you to accept reality as it is rather than reality as you would like to have it. Right? Or wahan bhav bhagwan hai, hum katardan hai. So you got to be influenced by price. So on the uprise, and see, you always have to wait for the right moment in trading. So when the markets went up, it was good. And see, I sold it at 3,500. ACC had produced a result, I think, for October 91. The quarter ended September 91. We assessed, all of us friends, that this is the best result ACC will ever produce. And in December, we sold our shares. I sold my shares at 3,400, 3,500. And I have no regrets that the price went to 10. No. And ACC never produced a result.
Better than that.
Better than that.
But no regrets, despite the price tripling from those prices.
I won't say no regrets, Ramesh, but now I have learned that, I will not sell only by fundamentals and opinions. I will also sell looking at market conditions.
Psychology.
That has taught me, this psychology. But we always knew that this drive of this rise beyond, in January 92 and beyond, was all being, first of all, the valuations were incredulous, unsustainable. You were having equities at 3 times, 4 times replacement cost. You could sell 10 lakhs Karnataka ball bearing, a closed down company at 80 rupees.
I know you made a fortune in 1992. We need to make a fortune for Television 18. We'll come back, we'll chat some more on the Wizards of the Last Street with Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. Welcome back to the Wizards of the Last Street. We're talking to the wizard himself, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. Rakesh, fast forward 2000. You missed a beat there, didn't you?
No, I won't say I missed a beat. It was the first time in my life when markets were. Surely, up to 2000, I did very well.
In the 2000 bull run?
Bull run, I bought a lot of software stocks and I bought them late because, even today I am half computer illiterate. So I never could understand or comprehend the importance of software. I realized it in 97, 98 and I bought a lot of software stocks. And I sold 80% of them at the peak. Only I was caught on the wrong foot when the markets went down post 2000 in 2001.
When the markets went down?
Yeah, I was not bearish. I was not bullish, although I was not bearish.
Correct. But in 2000 also you had those feelings that the market was excessively complacent about technology valuations.
Yeah, that was, I mean, see, whenever valuations reach a point, it was 120 times earnings, and McKinsey comes out with a report, and every grandmother, chacha, chachi, bartender, panwala, everybody into stocks and just lurching to buy stocks. It's time to be, I was very bullish at PSU stocks that time.
That was the one call you made, that the privatization of PSU is inevitable like death itself.
My call was, okay, privatization is inevitable, and even today my call is that privatization is inevitable. We have done a very small part of the privatization program. I think the faster we do it, the more we'll save for this country. Anyway, you know, the valuation, first of all, the earning models, the domination of public sector undertakings and the valuations, and the fact that the growth in earnings, because of the domination, was a done. And the valuations were incredible. You could buy, you know, shipping corporation at 0.3 book and at a yield of 12%.
And in fact, they gave you a one-time dividend that equaled the stock price you bought
Yeah.
it at. So there were some great bargains available. But again, there's a mistake that you turned bullish perhaps too early.
No, I don't think
Timing
so.
was,
I don't think so, Ramesh, for the kind of gains public sector stocks have given. I really bought aggressively I got bullish in 2000. I bought aggressively between 2000 and 2002. And we got the rewards in 2003.
At the bottom of the bear market, you were the only guy, and what I think put you in the Hall of Fame. You wrote an article for the Economic Times proclaiming secular new bull market. Today, of course, it's fashionable to say that. But at that time, you were a lonely voice.
Yeah, Ramesh, see, I have one thing in my nature that when I believe in something, I'm not easily convinced. And if I'm convinced, I believe in it, and I keep up to it. I'm not easily disconvinced.
And you put your money where your mouth is, don't you?
And I'm not afraid to put the money on the table. And I'm an opinionated character. Those opinions don't come easily, they don't go away easily, and they cannot be influenced easily. So when you saw after September 11th, Ramesh, what had essentially happened, 3,000 Americans had died, right? That was point number one. So I thought all the fear post September 11th was a little misplaced. Second, for 10 years, the market had not gone anywhere. The earnings had nearly doubled, right? Then, we had achieved dematerialization in the fastest time possible in the world. We had a modernized trading system. Not only is the quantum of profits gone up, we've done a DuPont analysis, the quality of profits had gone up.
But Rakesh, post 2001, when you still remained bearish despite the gloom and doom, there was a fear that there was, warfare between nations, germ warfare, biological. Weren't those at least at the back of your head?
But I remember, I think the first quality I need as an investor is to be an optimist. I remember what Peter Lynch says, that wars have come, and terror has come, and natural disasters have come, but company profits have gone up. So you have to be the eternal optimist if you want to invest in stocks.
Clearly.
And Ramesh, the kind of despair, the kind of valuations, the kind of quality of earnings, the increase on the return on equity had gone up, and every company you went to was fighting for every paise of profit.
But your call was not bullish on the markets as much bullish on India. Isn't that true?
But that's linked to the markets. I don't think you can achieve a real bull market in any country's stock markets unless the country goes into a bull market.
A secular bull market.
A secular bull market. India is going to have secular growth. And I don't think that Indian stock markets are going to go up if India does not develop. The Nikkei went from 4,000 to 40,000. Japan became the second largest economy in the world.
But what is it that the critics missed that you got? A lot of people didn't share your optimism of the Indian economy. What was their failing?
See, I think the first thing that most people miss out, and I could be wrong, the call is still open, is the fact that as Indians we are very impatient and we rightly feel that we can have far better growth than what we have. I think that makes us lose out in recognizing what we have already achieved and the circumstances in which we have achieved. I believe India is a runner without shoes. We have no infrastructure, we have a stifling bureaucracy, a lot of corruption. In spite of that, we are where we are, right? And if India is with shoes, where will India be?
So the genius was recognizing that things have changed for the better?
I would say, it was surely, and this was combined not only with the absurdly low valuations, right? With the sheer, fear of equity. Equity was a bad word, right? And, there was highest amount of insider buying. And markets at those levels, although they were not gaining, they were not losing when markets were indicating that come what may, they refused to go down.
Rakesh, the press says that you have a 10,000 crore plus wealth. Is that true?
Well, Ramesh, they asked John Paul Getty, had one of the longest reigns as the richest man of the world. They asked him, how much do you have? He said, if you can count it, you don't have it. Well, besides that, I know I don't have that kind of wealth. I wish I had it. God willing, I'll have it.
We'll discuss your strategies. We know you're worth a lot more, but maybe we get the answer out of the next episode of the Wizards of the Last Street. with Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. Please do join us.